life I have isn't what I'd see. The sky's not blue and the fields not green. Wait for me. Wait for me.
So you can see that when I extend and I'm barefoot, that my foot or my heel doesn't even really touch the ground. It can't. I can't actually bend it that far. I don't have the same range of motion that most people have. And also rolls kind of unnaturally to the inside, which, as you can, kind of guess, it makes standing and walking a little difficult sometimes. And I oftentimes need a lot of help. You can even see on the short film that I did, we incorporated my injury into the plot, where we had my leg wrapped up as if it had already been injured, and that gave an excuse for me to actually limp around, seeing how I had to be on camera and doing action. And even towards the end of the shoot, you can see some shots where my walk is just, my foot is so twisted in an unnatural way, but that's what happens when I really kind of push the endurance of what I can do with my foot now.
I don't care about your ticket and I don't care about your car. I care about me.
Yeah.
So don't share the road with me if you're drunk. Usually a person that's impacted by a drinking driving crash, it'll affect at least 100 people around them in a seriously negative way. Mm-hmm. And that's what I try and make people realize. When they get in their car drunk, they're not just hurting themselves.
So across Canada, what are the statistics for drinking and driving?
Known drinking, driving crashes that cause death, 4 people a day die. More people die on the roads from drunk drivers than in any war.
And that's just in Canada?
Just in Canada.
And they can still see the scars from the surgery, even though it was 7 years ago. There's a big one along the bottom where they open up the foot to do a majority of the work. Smaller one along the bone of the ankle here. Another one along the inside of the ankle there. And then the big one is up along the leg to just underneath the knee right there. So that's like a majority of the operations I had done on me at Lionsgate.
My broken love will never stay. Try too hard and I always say. Days are gray and the nights are black. Wait for me.
So yeah, the big issue that I wanted to talk about today is the accident that happened to me back in 2003. Basically, right after I opened up my first retail store, it was literally 1 month after I opened it. I don't even remember it happening, but there were 2 vehicles coming up over the horizon on this very thin rural road. And so I blanked out for the entire thing, and I woke up on the side of the road having been pulled from the vehicle. I was extremely lucky, because it really was a should be dead sort of accident. Mm. The amount of space between the steering wheel and the back seat was like this, and I was wedged in there. And if I were any bigger, if I weren't such a small person, I definitely would be dead. I would have a steering column impaled through my chest. Statistically, I should not be alive today.
How did you get out of the car?
I was pulled out by people who came to the accident. And I later talked to them, and they said that I seemed conscious and coherent and was asking questions. But I have no memory of that whatsoever. I just woke up laying on the side of the road. And when I woke up, I didn't know if I'd caused the accident or not. Because when I had the accident, I just remember driving, and then I remember dreaming. And I remember dreaming that I was driving, just seeing the road like rolling in front of me. And something in the back of my mind was saying, you need to wake up or something bad is going to happen. But of course, something bad already had happened. I was in the accident. So here I'm going to lay out what actually happened with the accident. So here's the road where it happened. It's a very rural, windy road, not a lot of space. So I was coming home in my truck from work that night, and then this other person is driving along, and here's where Kyle was. He was in this vehicle here and attempting to pass this person around the corner as I was coming. And so there's absolutely nowhere that I could go when this happened. I didn't even see it happen. I just saw headlights coming at me, and then I blanked out, and it's just inevitable. Head-on collision like that.
Did you have any of those? Sometimes when people have accidents, they play it over in their mind almost as if they could change it. Like, if only I had done this, or if I had stopped at this place, or some way I could have revised history.
I did that constantly.
Yeah.
And I had like, I even made this list. I had a list of like 5 things that I had intended to do on the way home that night. As I left work, I was going to deposit a check at the bank, in the ATM. Before I did that, I was going to visit this person. I had meant to get out of the store like, 10 minutes earlier, but I got caught up with something. And there was all these things that any one of these would have not put me in that place at that time, and to have that accident happen.
Right.
And you start to question, like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that?
I was broadsided by a drugged driver at 11:30 p.m. on June 16th, 1994. And this prick tried to take my life. I survived. And I always thought that there was some compensation, that there was some society would look after you if you're involved in a serious crash and the perpetrator was doing something illegal. But I found out different. I was running a business at the time. My business was earning in probably upwards of $1 million a year. And everything went down. I lost my business. I lost my home. I lost my life savings. My 2 children that lived at home with me were, they lost their home too. The guy that hit me, I don't ever know what happened to him. I know he went to jail. I never went to his trial. Didn't go. I just thought he would be dealt with accordingly, and that didn't matter to me. My own recovery was what mattered to me.
So what sort of injuries did you sustain?
Mainly soft tissue injuries, neck, back, arms, legs. Nothing broken. I got a thing they call thoracic outlet syndrome, which destroys all the muscles in your shoulder, so I have no strength in my arms. They're still there, but I can't hold anything above my head. I couldn't hold that camera for as long as he's holding it. It'd be falling on my lap. I got 5 minutes.
And those are the hard points. When I get to points where I'm having a day where I'm really having trouble walking, where I have to rely on my cane, where I have to rely on rides because I can't get home from work, there's moments where it will just it compounds and builds and catches up on me, and I'm just having that particular day where I'll just have to sit and break down and start crying about it. and think about all the ways in which this has kind of fucked up my life and all the limitations that have been put upon me because of it. It's, I want to say humbling, but it feels shitty, and it feels like I've been robbed. It feels like I've been cheated. You know, I see people running around and I can't run. I'm physically incapable of that. You know, I climb up a flight of stairs and I'm completely exhausted because it takes so much energy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something as simple as that. And just knowing, looking in the future, like when I'm 60, I'm probably going to be so riddled with arthritis in my ankle that I am going to be in a wheelchair. That's a possibility I have to prepare for. You know, so it's hard.
Miss Lynch is a 29-year-old right-hand owner and operator of a computer store. She was involved in a motor vehicle accident on July 5th,
She
2003.
recalls leaving her store that evening and traveling home.
She experienced
Miss
jaw
Lynch's
pain,
next memory
broken
is
teeth,
lying on the side of the
right
road.
ankle pain,
Miss Lynch is unable at this
and left
time to bear
shoulder
any weight on
symptoms.
her right leg. She will
Ms.
require
Lynch
the
was
use of a
transported
wheelchair
to
to
St.
mobilize
Mary's
independently in
Hospital
the community,
Shelby
as well as a
Center.
pair of crutches for
My
short
opinion,
distance
the
travel
has a
between
witness.
transfers.
Ms.
Lynch's range of motion of her right ankle healed
This 28-year-old female was involved in a motor vehicle accident earlier this month.
Right foot out
She was
to the
unable
right
to get
shoulder,
there to
right
during she wasn't sure of the dangers of the accident.
There was moderate
Witnesses told
swelling,
police that a blue
marked
Chevy
tenderness
pickup truck
and
was
pain
passing
on
on
any
a
movement of the right knee.
when it collided with
The
the
right
second
ankle
pickup
and
approaching
foot
in the
were
opposite
moderately
lane.
She was
swollen.
given
No charges were
Her
laid,
right
but
foot
alcohol-related
appeared to be
charges
fixed
are
with
being
inversion.
considered. The incident remains under investigation.
I actually did track down the guy who hit me. I found him on Facebook. He is not a very good guy at all. And everyone knew about this guy. I heard stories, and he almost became like this mythology and legend after the fact, just because I had so many people telling me stories about him afterwards. And he tried to flee the scene. And apparently there were also warrants out for his arrest. He was a known car thief. I'd never known the guy before, and I haven't met him since. I think it's Impact BC. They have like they list top 10 car thieves in BC every year. That year he was one of the top 10. And he eventually did 6 months in jail is what he got. You know, the only contact I've had is seeing him on the front page of the province show up as one of BC's top 10 car thieves. You know, that is like, okay, now I know what he looks like, you know, because here's a mugshot. There definitely was a certain amount of kind of seething rage that was inside about the situation. And I'm on the verge sort of thinking about contacting him and doing some kind of like sit down interview with him and hopefully try to get like some sort of sense of closure from that. Find out how it affected him and the ways in which his life changed, and hopefully changed him as a person for the better as a result of this incident.
You don't know if he changed.
No, I don't know. But I would love to find out that as a result of it, he completely changed around his ways and, you know, got on the right track. And, you know, there's only one way I'm going to find that out.
What if he didn't?
And that's a chance you take. It's like, you know, when people are adopted and they go searching for their biological parents. Sometimes it turns out wonderfully and they find that they have a lifelong friend that is really a great person. Or else they meet somebody that is a disaster and they feel horrible and depressed to see where they came from, you know.
Yeah.
But people take that chance because there's a possibility of an upside.
And there's only one way to find out, you know,
Yeah.
which way would go with him.
Yeah.
And that'd be to contact him.
Yeah.
I love my hands, but it hurts to break. The life I have isn't what I'd see. The sky's not blue and the fields not green. Wait for me. Wait for me.
And if he's still a drunken jerk criminal, would that change things for you that much?
Well, at least then I'd be able to say, I did my part. You know, it's like, I can only control, you know, the things that I do. I can't control the actions of other people. If I
Right.
could, he wouldn't have hit me in the first place.
If he had been a car thief and a drunk, and that's what made his life go along previously, if he changed since then, there would be some good.
Yeah.
And he should be telling other people, students in high schools, how this affected him. Somebody needs to know. He needs to get some good out of that. Or at the minimum, he needs to get out and lead a decent life.
Wait for me. Wait for me.
The big win would be if I found out that because of this, that he decided to change the course of events in his life so that he ended up to be a different person. And maybe in a sense, him colliding into me and having that accident stopped him from killing someone else down the line, you know, in something much worse. So even though I'm kind of suffering with the after effects of that accident, maybe in a sense it's caused good in the world because it's changed the course of events in someone who's on a bad path. That would be the big win.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In that sense, I would be kind of like a superhero.